You've heard me say it. For whatever gender you are, aren't, and for any age under the sun, it's important for people to have access to receive home economics education so that they can live their best, capable, confident lives. Today, I want to talk about why I made this channel and why I chose this name. I'm going to go more in depth into the intended purpose of my channel, but both of those questions can be answered by simply opening up YouTube and searching the term Feminist Homemaker. What are the top results? Well, here you can see what are the top suggestions when I simply type in the word feminist in the search bar. Looking the term up from my husband's account, my channel pops up first because he's subscribed, and then it's immediately followed by these videos. When I first started this channel and friends were trying to look me up, these videos were all that showed up for what seemed like miles of scrolling. It's taken a year of content creation to make a dent into what appears to be a Christo-fascist stronghold on this topic. With the documented phenomenon of the online content pipeline pulling people into bigoted reactionary extremist spaces, and the resurgence of archaic adherence to gender roles via tradwife accounts, for example, I wanted to put out something as a positive alternative. My hope was that maybe when someone searches these terms or is diving through the content stream, they'd find something to serve as sort of an intellectual braking system, and that the aforementioned misogynistic videos would not be many young people's only exposure to homemaking. The secondary reason, on a brighter note along those lines, was that I know lots of people that weren't taught how to take care of themselves or their home. My husband and his sister were not taught anything about household maintenance. His busy parents are fortunate enough that they could outsource some of that labor by having a cleaning lady come once a week or buying pre-made meals either frozen or by Cantina. But on top of that, whatever skills they did or didn't possess themselves, of which I will make no judgment, no knowledge was passed on in this realm. This is, unfortunately, completely common. Parents of the previous generation might not even think to try to teach this, because at one time it was an assumption that their kids would learn such necessary things in school. Long story short, a few years into our marriage, I told my husband that I would not feel comfortable having a child with someone who was not fully capable in the household. If something happened to me, what would become of the proper care for our children? See, I grew up having to care for not only my younger siblings, but my parents as well. Unlike my husband's family, we had no spare funds to outsource our household needs. And I didn't want anything like that for my children. For them to have to worry over their needs being met and whether or not the people who should be their carers can provide that. I do want to note that my husband wasn't completely helpless, so to speak. In fact, I first became seriously interested in him because my best guy friend in 2013 to 14 shared an apartment with my future husband and at least 2 to 3 other roommates. And, unfortunately, the other dudes were very much messy college bros. But my husband cared about the relative tidiness of the place and would take the lead on things like cleaning the bathroom and rallying the others. So I saw he had a capable foundation. He couldn't cook though. He once, in an early attempt to woo me with a meal, threw a slice of American cheese in a small pot of warm almond milk to try and make mac and cheese. It was a sweet effort. Nonetheless, despite the growth he had made during our marriage, with me teaching him cooking basics, he was not advancing in other areas, and if we planned to grow our family, he needed to take his learning seriously and not bank on the idea that he'd eventually just be able to afford to outsource it himself as well. Not with everything going up but the wages. So, with me now busy with my own career job, I told him to find educational resources online, and if he had any specific questions, he'd come to me to supplement his learning. After a week or two, I asked how it was going. He told me it was going okay, but he was having trouble with something I couldn't help him with. Alienation. He said most of the resources were by women, which was fine of course, but they'd start all their audience addresses with things like, "Hey ladies." No matter who it was or how good their content, there was this constant assumption that the only people who cared about their household was women. Now, obviously, I know why that is. I'm not going to blame and shame these women knowing their marketable audience, as a product of the way our heteropatriarchal society is set up. Here's an exercise. Look at cleaning commercials from now on, and let me know how many guys you see cleaning. If any exist, how many of them are shown enjoying cleaning, as in smiling while doing it? Because women are. Constantly. In the 90s, a young Meghan Markle was on TV for writing to a dish detergent company, asking them to change their ad statement from "Women are fighting greasy pots and pans" to "People all over America." However, even with companies not explicitly putting sexism into words, the content of the commercials themselves portray their gender bias. So, I'm well aware of what world we live in. I'm aware that most of the people consuming home care content are women. Again, I don't think any of those channels that are definitely not trying to be sexist in any way should be admonished. However, it does subconsciously cement this as an immutable fact. It creates this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. So I simply wanted to create content out there that can help break that cycle. So this channel is incredibly personal because it was made for my younger siblings and their generation. It was made for my husband and his parents' generation. And it was made for the many women I know and love in my generation who weren't taught shiz. Because another unintended effect of approaching the subject in such a manner is how hard and alienating it can be for all types of women. Trying to learn for the first time. It can't be easy for a woman who does not have these skills to go into these spaces and be met with a constant "ladies, am I right?" attitude of attaching your capabilities in the domestic field with your worth as a woman and, consequently, womanhood. I want everyone to feel confident as capable, independent adults. And I am hoping by teaching people domestic skills, the overall value for this field of work will increase, which I think will be good for the world overall. See, it's a cycle. Society relegates these tasks to women's work or for lower class workers. And because this is work for the poor or the female, it stays in unfairly paid or completely unpaid labor. And then, due to classism and sexism, people see that it's not financially compensated well, if at all, and assign its perceived lack of value to dollar signs, calling it unskilled labor. Thus, it is my hope that by teaching that domestic labor is both work that requires skill and that these are skills you should learn, that my videos can come in like a pole to gears and break that cycle, at least for some. So, I'm a feminist. I'm a homemaker. My passion for teaching homemaking has roots in intersectional feminism, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. And let's make the world a better place, one home at a time. Is that too big of a dream? A little lofty? I don't know, but it's mine. Come back next time. Bye!